When I was little, I used to wish I could ride my horse everywhere. Horses have taught me a lot about patience and curiosity, along with respect for the natural world. My name is Lexi Emeny, and my climate journey is 19 years in progress. As a student and a human being, my goal is to be a lifelong learner. When I think of climate change, I think of my love for animals. I think of food, nature, water, and I think of my family. There are many things that I have yet to learn about how to ensure a sustainable future for our planet, but I know I want to be part of the many solutions to this complex climate crisis. In the spirit of learning and climate journeys, I spoke with one of my former professors and soil expert, Tony Hartshorn, to hear about his own experiences in terms of climate change, what it means to be a climate leader, some of the things he thinks are important, and his advice for the future.
A climate leader has to be a good listener, number one. My name is Tony Hartshorn, and come here, Alex. Come here. I teach soils at Montana State University. That means sophomore level, sort of intro environmental science. Environmental Science 245 is its name, and then I also teach a 400 level class called Soil Remediation, How to Fix Soils. So I'm a super optimistic guy, and part of it is, oh my God, my students. In terms of my own odyssey related to climate, I mean, I did put a climate change angle into my first published paper. So for my PhD, I studied what are called wetland soils up in Alaska. I was also asking, well, what would happen under global warming scenarios? And I think I published this in like 2003 or something like that. But what would happen under certain warming scenarios if the trees expanded into the wetlands, like from a soil carbon balance? So that was like 2003. And then in terms of my journey, it took me a long time to get a faculty position. I got one in Virginia, was my first teaching job. And in Virginia, man, I was a nut job. Like, I was so excited about climate change.
I've been doing an honors climate change seminar for about 6 years. We love to get Senator Daines in there because you need to have sort of these other voices.
Should we have more mining or less mining in our backyards? And the right answer, I think, if you're a climate leader, is you should have almost a maximum of mining in your own backyard.
If you talk about wind turbines, I'm just like, no, you can't be for quote unquote green energy and against mining in Montana. And sparks fly.
When we say no to mining, Paradise Valley, the Smith River Mine, whatever it is, we export that demand, right? And so it turns out one of the places that it gets exported are places like northern Peru, which is super poor. Nobody wants a mine in their backyard, but we're not having that broader conversation that I think intelligent people should be having, like climate leaders, about, well, where do we express this demand for metals that are going to enable us to wean ourselves off of fossil fuel?
I do think that soils are this crazy, interesting crucible where you can find and establish not just like the figurative, but the literal common ground, right, for conversations.
We're the only state that exports topsoil. And by the way, that's 100% unsustainable. because those end up being the richest parts of soil. Like that's where your water sponge is, right? And it can be a rainstorm, the white combine, hailstorm, or a snowstorm, right? However your precipitation comes in, you have no place to store it as soon as you blow out the topsoil. Why, if you own property, why would you allow there to be any topsoil export from your place that you hope to hand on to another 5 generations of your family?
It's always more listening than talking, and I'm not sure that the listening is happening, right? Instead, there's been this weaponization, and obviously the politicization. But this is ridiculous. Like in Montana, like who would be against, stopping topsoil erosion or whatever? And my whole thing is, when I'm talking to ranchers, I don't talk about carbon. I talk about soil organic matter and the sponge that is soil. So part of it is just framing.
All we need to do is connect whippersnappers like you, who understand enough about science to be dangerous, to producers out there that are doing some really cool avant-garde stuff. And then much, much greater transparency.
My plea to you would be, do that soul searching. Who are you most uncomfortable talking to? And then set that up. When you go into those uncomfortable conversations, you can't help but learn new things, even about yourself and your biases. And I feel like that's what we should all be working on. Like, all you have to do is ask or threaten or just be smart, right? About, well, this is what we would love. You guys should share our values. How do we make this happen policy-wise? My, heartfelt appeal is like, think about the messaging, take classes like climate leadership, but then do something. And by the way, why would you do it? Well, you would do it, maybe you'll get lucky and get it right. But if you get it wrong, you've just learned something. Like, it's just such a powerful thing. With climate leadership, what are you for? Like, you can't say for turbines, but be against the ingredients that are used to make the turbines. If you think changing your car to a Prius that gets better miles per gallon is going to make a difference, like American difference on the global stage, it's not. Do you think eating like veggie burgers is going to make a difference, or recycling, or changing your light bulbs? None of that makes a difference compared to one thing that every college student at MSU has control over, actually, and that's the very, very personal decision about how many kids to have. And that's because the American footprint, United States of America footprint on the global climate is disproportionate. And the big deal is we should be a model to the world for how to do things. And I actually think, since we're in Montana specifically, we should be exporting not just topsoil to the world, but we should be exporting, models of citizen action, of student action.
I love my job, but the really big deal is trying to, given the tricks, right, of communicating such a broad spectrum of humans, how do I help them feel empowered to make a difference? Because I don't think it serves anybody to be not hopeful. If you think about it, trying to grow me food, I always tell people, you should be so grateful for producers, because if I were charged, even in my home, right, right here, there's a backyard through this window with a garden. If I was in charge of my garden, my family would starve.
Does that feel good?